81.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Take a lap.
What is going on, good people? We've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to break down some of the winners and losers of free agency thus far. Now, of course, we still got a lot to go. There's tons to unravel. There are more trades to be made. There are more free agent acquisitions. And then, of course, we have the NFL draft upcoming, which is going to add a whole new dynamic to this amazing offseason. But I have to ask, is this not the best offseason we have ever endured as a fantasy football community? I think not. And I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. I don't think we see another offseason like this for a long time. But it could be more exciting go forward because quarterbacks get traded now. Russell Wilson would have never been traded 4 or 5 years ago. In fact, it even felt like there's no way they were going to get rid of him and not Pete Carroll in Seattle and actually trade him away without having a replacement. Like, because I'm facing the same thing here in Arizona with the Cardinals. There's no way in my mind we trade Kyler Murray, even though I'm fed up with him right now, even though I want him to do better, turn around, get a good attitude. He still feels like he's headed in the wrong direction, and even I don't want to get rid of him if we don't have a replacement. If we're not, in theory, upgrading him or upgrading the team. So it's crazy to me that Atlanta blew it up when they still had a lot of components to win now. Russell Wilson's a baller. He's going to make Denver a whole lot taller as he reaches into his bag of tricks and scores, 35 passing touchdowns at least in 2022. Who knows how many rushing touchdowns the dude's going to deliver. We're going to go over the winners and losers of free agency. I've got the top 3 guys in my mind that won. Like, some of them indirectly, right? Herbert indirectly. His defense got so much stronger that in my mind, Herbert was one of the biggest benefiters from the 2022 free agency movement. Because this guy got Khalil Mack. This defense is J.C. Jackson. This defense is so much improved that field position, living in the red zone, being in goal line situations more. This guy's already gonna take a step forward, Justin Herbert, and now his defense takes a step forward with him. He's gonna absolutely go bonkers, and that is why, if you care to notice that I had a video up last night that I worked real hard on that some of you haven't watched yet, where I talk about Herbie boy being my number 1 quarterback in 2022. Yeah, at me if you want, but go watch that video because that video has it needs to get the views up on it because I spent a lot. This is a 30-minute video on how to draft quarterback, when to draft quarterback, when to punt quarterback, how people are crazy to suggest in a blanket statement fashion that going early quarterback is a bad move when they don't even know what's on the board when you're on the clock. For somebody to give you this dumb blanket statement type advice, don't draft a quarterback early because it's too deep. The quarterback pool is too deep. It is deep. On its face, that sounds logical, right? Tom Brady, the number 2 or 3, whatever he scored in your league last year, number 3 or 4 fantasy football scorer in terms of quarterback production can maybe be had as a 7th or 8th quarterback. This is a deep quarterback class, but that doesn't change the fact that someone telling you to avoid Herbert, who might outscore everybody in fantasy football in 2022, or insert Mahomes, or insert Josh Allen, or insert Joe Burrow, who got some offensive line help, and Burrow qualifies as one of the biggest benefiters of the 2022 free agency movement because this man, Joseph Burrow, where's my Burrow button? Where's my Burrow button? People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it. Get burrowed. Burrow had an improved offensive line move. This Dallas offensive lineman, blanking on his name at the moment right now. Somebody help me. Smitty's brain is fried. Smitty's brain is fried right now. Completely fried. I don't even know if I can think straight right now. Who is it? What's his name? Somebody throw his name out. Why am I blanking? What's up, everybody? Say hello on your way in the door. Jorge, Blackbeard, Cliff, Todd, Swaggy, first in the building. Tariq, look at Tariq first in the building. James was second, and Joel third, Blackbeard fourth, and Matt Clamp fifth. Yeah. What's Dallas doing? I don't know what Dallas is doing. Yeah, Collins. What's his name? Why was it blanking out on Collins' name? This is an amazing addition for this Bengals offensive line and Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow benefited with the defensive moves in Chargerville. You have this man, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen. How do I keep him straight? Who's the number one? Todd says he's going to rank him this way, and I'm not mad at Todd. Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, Burrow. You can go in any order. I've got it a little differently, but you know what? The wind blows just a little bit to the left. I could easily put Josh Allen back in my one spot. But this is kind of how mine is, other than I've swapped Herbert and Allen just recently. So get ready for a wild offseason in terms of rankings and all that goodness. But that's a good ranking, bro. We're pretty close on that. Close on that. Yeah, Collins is a great addition. Thank you for helping me as my brain is about to explode. I'm sitting here trying to process everything too, because I'm trying to figure out where I have a really good pulse on where a guy's ADP will probably be. And even I'm struggling at times to figure out where a couple of these guys are going to go, because there's so much movement. Like Deshaun Watson, 4 to 6 game suspension, but when he's playing, is he a top 5 quarterback? Therefore, top 5 to 6 quarterbacks go in the range of the 5th or 6th round, or maybe the late 4th, depending on your league. But then you got the 4 to 6 game suspension, so you're not sure how that's going to affect ADP. What are we doing with Deshaun Watson? Is he a 7th rounder, a 6th rounder, a 5th rounder? We don't know. Then we got Jerry Jeudy, who hasn't done much, but he's a top 5 route runner in the NFL, and he's getting little Russell Wilson tossing him those raindrops into the end zone. What happens to Russ? Where's his ADP? Is he a 6-7 round gem? What about Jerry Jeudy? We've mock drafted him, and he's not going as high as I thought he would. But is he a 4th or 5th rounder, or are some people going to reach like crazy into round 3? Some of the ADP data is hard to get a grip on right now. We've got to let it sink in. We've got to do a bunch of mock drafts. We do that late at night. If you're new, you know to follow me. You know to subscribe. If you're new, subscribe. If you aren't, you're making a mistake, because we go live. We mock draft at night. I go live Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. No, I haven't. I did eat a little bit. I was going to say I haven't eaten yet. That's why I'm a little bit riled up, but I did. I even forget when I eat. My days run together. There have been days during this free agency I haven't slept, and the days have run together. I'm wearing the same shirt on a live stream. I'm like, holy crap, it's already tomorrow. I'm live late at night. I'm staying up. It's 4 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. I go live. I'm wearing the same clothes. I'm like, goodness gracious, I haven't even ended my day yet. Daybreak, take a cat nap, shower, come back in a new wardrobe for the evening show. That's how my life's been the last couple days. It's been absolutely madness. Jamison Crowder, says Swaggy. Crowder, underrated wide receiver, especially since he played on the Jets, says Sacktown. Just so you guys know, there have been a couple pieces of news today. Let me recap for anybody that's been under a rock all morning and afternoon. Why is everything not working on my computer again? I just restarted. This right here, Saints, Jameson, signed Jameson Winston. We knew this was coming. I said this from the beginning. The moment that the Falcons trade falls through, if it does, they're immediately signing Jameis Winston, and they did. $28 million deal, including $21 million guaranteed. That's a pretty good payday for Winston. This is a pretty good deal. $21 million guaranteed, considering he was literally waiting for the Falcon deal the Saints deal to fall through with this Watson potential landing spot in New Orleans. He's sitting there waiting. waiting and waiting, may not have a job. I'm sure he would have probably landed in Carolina or maybe Seattle, but he's sitting here waiting. He's second choice and he still gets $21 million guaranteed. We live in a world where when you're second or third choice, you're still getting $21 million guaranteed. That's a good payday for Jameis. I don't know that I love Jameis Winston in 2022. Obviously, in 2 QB leagues, you can definitely use him. But I don't know that he's taking this team anywhere deep into the playoffs if they even make the playoffs. But I certainly think they could. But that's crazy. Yeah, that's more than most elite running backs make. It's the running backs get screwed. Falcons agreed to a 2-year deal with Marcus Mariota. We'll see what that is. Is that a bridge move, or could he revive his career? Some think that Mariota and also Mitch Trubisky in Pittsburgh, these guys have potential, that they were held back in their old environments. Maybe it's possible Marcus Mariota has something left in the tank, but the odds are probably against it. He's going into a place where he's not really set up extremely well to succeed. He does have an amazing pass catcher in Kyle Pitts, who we all got to feel a little bit down about in terms of his 2022 value and the amount of footballs he's going to pull in. But, Pitts is a baller. Let's hope Mariota tosses him the rock on the regular. Does anybody know what Mariota's ability to throw to the tight end looks like? What does it feel like? Is he going to laser lock onto this safety net of a tight end named Kyle Pitts that literally had the best rookie tight end season we've ever seen? Does anybody have any data? Because I'll be honest, I haven't looked into it yet. I don't know if Mariota hits the tight end at all. We don't have much data on Mariota, period. Some people didn't even know he's going to play football this year. He's literally on the verge of maybe never playing again, and then he gets a 2-year deal. So I know he's not a good quarterback. I understand that, Matt, but does he target the tight end? Does he use a safety net mechanism? Boom, throw it to my tight end. That's all I do. Does anybody have any data on this at all? I'll look for it, but not a great move for the Falcons, who are blowing it up anyway. They're starting over. And then the other piece of news here, this is the big deal here, which we talked about and basically said would happen a week ago, that if the Falcons didn't land Deshaun Watson, you were still going to probably see the Colts go hardcore after Matt Ryan, because after Watson's out of play, Matt Ryan is literally the second best option for the Colts to try and make a deep playoff run. They'll make the playoffs with a quarterback like Matt Ryan, so that's good. They wouldn't make the playoffs with in my opinion, a Jimmy G. Jimmy G, A, wouldn't have stayed healthy. B, I think Jimmy G isn't a good quarterback, not to the standards of a good starting quarterback in the NFL. He's in the NFL. He's a good quarterback in general. Of course, you're in the NFL. You're a good athlete. I'm not saying that, but in terms of being a top 32 quarterback, Jimmy G's not a top 32 quarterback to me. And if I'm so off base on that, because I'll tell you, some people come at me hardcore. They go, that is just a dumb statement. Yeah? Then why is it that he's not starting? And if he does, let's flip the script on that. Doesn't mean anything. Like, if a team comes in and all it takes is one team and they pull Jimmy G in, doesn't mean he's worth starting. Doesn't mean just because a coach did it, they're right. Look at Shanahan starting Jimmy G all year last year when he should have put Trey Lance in, ripped the Band-Aid off. And the Niners might have been in the Super Bowl had he done that. Had he stuck with Trey Lance, from mid-season on, when he started to come back from that injury and they were talking about putting him in and they didn't, or the Houston Texans game in week 17, had he put Trey or left Trey in there from that point on, you'd be looking at a Super Bowl appearance. I don't know if you would have won, but you'd be looking at a Super Bowl appearance. I firmly believe that. 4th and 2, and Jimmy G is your quarterback. If it was 4th and 2 and Trey had the football, you can make darn certain you'd have a better shot at getting a first down. And why Shanahan didn't give it to Deebo Samuel in that 4th and 2 is mind-boggling as well. What the Niners have been doing the past week and a half has been head scratching because they're sleeping at the wheel during free agency. They're retaining Jimmy G for $27 million because they're afraid to cut him and have to pay like $7 to $8 million, but they're going to get that $19 million back if they just cut the man. And they're watching players leave. They're bleeding out talent because talent's going to other locations that are going to be willing to pay the piper. And the Niners are just sitting back. Let's keep Jimmy G. Let's restructure Kittle. Let's restructure contracts in order to keep Jimmy G on the roster. That's what they did. It's a boneheaded move. It's sleeping at the wheel. It's dragging your feet. No one wants Jimmy G. He's not a top 32 quarterback. He just isn't. And if you say he is, you're not even factoring in the injury, because an injured Jimmy G is certainly not a top 32 quarterback. An injury-prone guy coming off a shoulder injury, you don't even know if he'll be ready for week 1. There was reports as soon as they wheeled him out of the... I'm not even joking. Almost immediately after they wheeled him out of the recovery room, they said he was coming out of Niners camp, they said he was on track to be ready for training camp. On track! As he's coming out of the recovery room. Like, you can predict something like that. Oh, he's on track. On track for what? He just got out of surgery. Everyone's scared that he won't be ready for week 1. I mean, this guy's an injury-prone player. He's not in the top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. If you say different, you're running a lap. And there's a reason not one of the 32 teams wants him as their starter in 2022. If what I'm saying doesn't make sense, why does every single NFL team, but maybe one or two that might jump in at the end because they're desperate, why does nobody want him as their starter? It's Trey Lance season. Ronaldo wants to take a lap because he says Jimmy over Trey. Guess what, Ronaldo? Take it, Ronaldo. Take a lap, buddy boy. Jimmy G's top 10. Doug, you're top 10. You're top 10 in my book, Doug. Okay, so that's the news right there. Matt Ryan, Mariota, Winston, all the dominoes dropping, all the ramifications. Okay, let's look at the Saints. You've got Mike Thomas. Has anybody heard from Mike Thomas? I haven't heard from Mike Thomas. Have you heard from Mike Thomas, Swaggy? What about you, Doug? Have you heard from Mike Thomas, Sacktown, Jose, John Kennedy, Cliff, Kenny Powers? Has anybody heard from Mike Thomas? I haven't heard a word. I've been checking my phone all offseason. I haven't seen a peep out of Mike Thomas. We don't know what's going on. And yet people are talking about Mike Thomas returning to the wide receiver ones. I get comments all the time where people say, Smitty, Mike Thomas ready? Mike Thomas, a wide receiver 1 in 2022, Smitty? Hey, Smitty, do you think Mike Thomas is going to be a fantasy football wide receiver 1 in 2022? You out of your minds? Are you out of your minds? What on earth would make you give Mike Thomas the benefit of the doubt of being a wide receiver 1 in 2022? Until that man proves he's back to form, anybody that trusts him will be probably, you never know, probably disappointed. Not on top of that, Winston's coming back from an ACL tear. Granted, he's better than Jimmy G. I'd take Winston coming back from an ACL tear. You know Winston. Where's my football? You know Winston. You know Winston. That's how Winston... Everyone's so impressed with Winston's workout videos. All I see is this. Dude's dancing around like bees are trying to attack him. It looks so awkward. Running on a treadmill like Kramer from Seinfeld. And it's like everyone's like, Winston's back. Looking like a beast. Winston, look, at you see the video clip of Winston? Winston looks ready. He's ready to work. But he still looks better than Jimmy G. I'd take it all day long. I'd take it all day long. Winston. So you got Mike Thomas. You got Alvin Kamara. Has anybody heard from Alvin Kamara? No wonder Watson didn't want to go to the New Orleans Saints. Watson, facing 22 criminal cases against him, didn't even want to go mingle with the New Orleans Saints. He's like, Mike Thomas, I can't. Not reliable. Watson feels Mike Thomas isn't reliable. Watson feels like Kamara's in too much trouble. I'm not going near Kamara. Watson didn't want to play with these guys. Even Watson. That's how bad New Orleans is right now in terms of like disappointment factor. So, yeah, he followed the money in general, Cliff, but you get what I'm saying, bro. Kamara, what's Kamara going to do this year? Sit out 6 games, half of a season, the whole year, 2 games, no games, we don't know. And Kamara, it's weird cuz I mean what else can he do? I'm not saying that like he has a choice, but like you see his social media and he's like by the pool and it's just like he acts like nothing's going to come out of all this. You know, just watching him on social media cracks me up because it's like Kamara is just chilling like there's no ramification coming. Maybe he knows something we don't. But all I know is Winston, ramifications for Winston in New Orleans is probably not the best passing attack in the world. Probably not 17 starts out of Jameis Winston. Probably not even, I don't know, 11 starts out of Kamara. Maybe 10. If we're lucky, we get half of a year. So, you know, give me a hard pass on the New Orleans Saints in 2022. Would I draft Kamara at the right spot? I probably will. But what's right? I don't know yet. The God's honest truth is I don't know yet. I don't know where I'm drafting Alvin Kamara. So that's the New Orleans Saints situation. I really need to put these names on screen as I'm talking about it. Kamara, a little late, but there you go. Alvin Kamara. Picture that was up the whole time. Mike Thomas. So now we're going to flip over to the Matt Ryan situation. And this is where I'm going to get a little excited. I'm not going to be negative. I'm going to be positive here in a second here. JT, to the moon. To the moon. Jonathan Taylor was looking at a pretty scary, we didn't really talk about it too much, situation. Okay, JT was looking at maybe having a garbage quarterback worse than Carson Wentz throwing the football in Indy for 2022. Look, Wentz is not a great quarterback, but at least he had an arm. At least he could throw the football. I'm not saying his arm was great or anything, but Jimmy G can't throw more than 12 yards down the field. If Jimmy G had landed in Indy, which was probably the only team that was willing to take a shot on him, why? Salary cap. They had more cap space than really anybody. Throwing 27 mil at Jimmy G for a year, that ain't no thing. They didn't care. Bridge quarterback that all day long. 27 mil, bring it in, draft a rookie. No problem, says Indy. Indy was the ideal trade partner for the San Francisco 49ers because of cap space. They could get it done. Now, so we're thinking, great, Jimmy G's going to limit this man. Or even worse, they go get, a bad rookie that isn't going to do well. Like, things were looking bleak for JT. I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit in, not panic mode, but like, what do I say here? I need to like wait and be patient because I really believed that the Colts would still be hard after Matt Ryan. But you didn't hear a whole lot about between the Watson news and today that the deal was really on the table still. This morning you started to hear rumblings, then it started to steamroll really quick, then it was like it's probably all but done, and then boom, another 10 minutes later, it was for a third rounder. Trade done, trade complete. It unraveled quick. But I did feel like Matt Ryan, if Watson didn't land in Atlanta, Matt Ryan was still going to somehow end up on the Colts roster because he was the best logical choice for them. What else were they going to do? If they've got a now team they've got a now team, and Wentz is better for JT. I disagree. I mean, look, Cairo, everything's arguable. You know, this isn't like a take a lap comment, because you could say that Wentz had potential, but he just made some dumb decisions and he couldn't take him the distance. I disagree with your comment, but I'm not going to make you take a lap on that. You're allowed to have your opinion. But Matt Ryan is a lot like Stafford was in Detroit, wasted away. Now, is Stafford better? Yes. So I don't need to see that comment in the chat. Oh, you're comparing Stafford. I kind of am comparing Stafford and Ryan in the fact that they both have been held back by their first team. And Matt Ryan, people have foggy memories that they doubted Stafford a little bit. Will he stay healthy? He's always kind of banged up. He plays all the time. Plays with a broken back. He always plays, but he's banged up. Will it catch up to him? Does he know how to close? Even during the year, he had some struggles and people flipped on him real quick. People have really foggy memories. People act like they love Stafford the entire time. It's ridiculous. Everybody doubted him here and there, just like they doubt Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan is not as good as Stafford physically. Okay, I don't believe he is. But Matt Ryan might have a similar impact in terms of how he gets this offense moving in a very positive direction. Very positive. And you could see the Colts be a multiple playoff win team. Not only will they make the playoffs because they acquired Matt Ryan, they could be a multiple round win team in the playoffs. They really could. This is a very tough team, and they're kind of like the Titans in a way. Think of the Tennessee Titans. Not real scary when you look at it on its face, okay? They got Henry, you're like, okay, but they got Tannehill. And you can't get past that, right? You're like, Tannehill, number 1 seed, first round bye. They're sneaky like that. The Colts are the same way. Ryan's better than Tannehill. Ryan's not going to come up, sneak up behind you and scare the living shit out of you. You're just going to be like a little shocked at his subtle, good play. Good play, not bad play, not mediocre play, good play. He'll play well. He'll maybe have a tiny bit of a downgrade in terms of stats, probably, or at least the same. I don't think it's gonna super, vault to the ceiling, but it's like this guy. This is a run first team, and it's so vital to have Matt Ryan in place of Wentz because the efficiency, the yards per carry, keeping defenses honest. Matt Ryan can throw the rock. He can get it to Pittman. He can spread the field. Spreading the field is the key to everything, especially the run. If you've got less men stacked in the box and you have everybody spread out and backed out a little bit, it creates bigger gaps, bigger rushing lanes. JT was about to see his whole world closed in on him because he had no quarterback. No quarterback. Baker Lettermaker was a potential option, which honestly is a downgrade from Wentz. Maybe not. I don't know. We're talking about which trash is better. Okay, so if I'm wrong on that, I might even feel different about that a minute later from now. I don't care. I don't want to debate Wentz, and I don't want to debate two pieces of trash when it comes to quarterback efficiency. Okay, not saying they're trash human beings, but they are very difficult dudes. Like, they're hard to get along with locker room dudes. So maybe I'm being nice by trying to pull that back. But here's two pieces of on the field trash. You've got Wentz and Baker. You got two locker room problems, and that was what you were going to shove maybe into this Colts situation. Ryan was the key. Ryan's going to take this team to another level that they need to be at, and then let JT do his thing. He couldn't do his thing without a quarterback. One of the biggest benefiters of everything going on in this entire 2022 offseason, the best offseason, trades, free agency we've ever seen. And this man that wasn't even traded, he was indirectly affected, might have benefited the most because he would have fallen off, not the face of the earth, but he would have fallen off at least a level of production, which probably would have put him still as a top 2 or 3 running back. But kind of like think Najee Harris. Najee was a top 3 or 4 running back, right? But he had to work so hard to get it. And he was averaging what, 3.9, 4.0? I think he was like 3.9 yards per carry. Like, imagine if Najee was popping off 4.5 a carry. Imagine if Najee had efficiency in his offense, which he may or may not get with Trubisky. I'm hopeful, but not expecting it. Like, we might see another inefficient yards per carry year out of Najee, and then you start worrying about the workload adding up, because let me tell you something. If you're running for 3.9 yards a pop like Najee, and you do it 2 years in a row, what do you think that means in general? He's getting hit a ton. Why? Because if you're getting stopped at 3.9 yards a pop, you're getting driven into the ground. You're getting corralled by 2 or 3 guys every time you touch the football. You're not efficient. You're not ripping off 4 or 5, 6 yard runs running out of bounds. You're not ripping off one through the actual line and getting tackled by maybe a D-back from time to time. You're talking about 3.9 yards a pop. You're getting tackled sometimes on your way out of the trenches, dragging yourself 2 or 3 yards and getting smashed and pulverized. So I don't like the fact that Najee Harris is averaging 3.9 yards per carry, and I don't like the fact that I don't know how confident I am that that's going to change in 2022. I'm not saying fade Najee. I'm merely like trying to identify what players we can be a little bit worried about because of the offenses and be honest with ourselves. And maybe we drop Najee below Javonte. I've already done it, but I'm maybe playing to you guys to say, hey, maybe Javonte is number 2 overall. Maybe Javonte, even if it's a reach by 3 or 4 picks according to your grandma, your Uncle Bud, or Buck, or your entire league, who cares? Unless you can trade down and feel ultra confident, no one's going to get cute and do what you're doing. Think like you're thinking. I don't mind you trading down to get Javonte a couple of spots later if your league allows for trading and you're not going to miss out on him. But I'm also not afraid to reach at 1.2 for Javonte, because Najee Harris is looking at low yards per carry yet again. And while he got it done, he's such a beast. He got it done. He still delivered. It makes me cautious when you see a guy like Javonte who just got Russell Wilson. His offense is going to be living in the red zone and near the goal line or on the goal line, all around the goal line. And you're going to say to yourself, I'm supposed to take Najee Harris over Javonte, right? Who cares? Punch the button on Javonte. Move Harris to 3 or 4. And it wouldn't even be crazy. It wouldn't even be crazy to potentially pull a couple of the wide receivers above him. Like, look, I've been all about this all offseason long. I've made it no secret. It's JT, and let me put Javonte on screen because I want to make sure everyone knows that he too is one of the biggest benefactors of this. The only reason he hasn't been listed yet is because we're still waiting for the Melvin Gordon news to pop, which honestly doesn't affect me too much. But Javonte Williams is probably, I would say, maybe tied for 3rd or 2nd or at least 4th in most benefited from the offseason movement. And it's easy to forget that he's the number 1, benefitter, or could be, when the Russell Wilson trade happened almost, it seems like, so long ago. But he needs to be up on this screen too. I should have put him in the graphic as well. It's Javonte, it's JT, it's Watson, and it's Herbert. But Javonte is in the top 4 for sure. You could argue 1, the most benefited player from free agency and all the movement. But Javonte, for me, it's easy. It's JT at 1, it's Javonte at 2, and there's nothing wrong with going a wide receiver at the 3 spot. If it's redraft Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, I think people get too crazy and wrapped up on positions and scarcity when literally you're talking about safety. You're talking about running backs busting up and down. And wide receivers, they've busted a little bit too last year, but running backs busting up and down the 1st and 2nd round. last year in 2021. So I'm not scared to take a wide receiver number 3 overall. I'm just not. I'll take JT, Javonte, and JT, Javonte, and Cup, JT, Javonte, and Jamar Chase. I'll do that all day long. I'm not scared of going running back, leaving Najee for 4 or 5 overall. I'm just not. I'm not scared of it at all. I'd take Najee third, then a wide receiver. That's just you. I can understand that, and in some mock drafts, I do that. I mix it up. I've been going Najee at 3. I've been going Najee at 4 or 5, and I've liked both teams. I'm just worried about Najee because Javonte, situation to the moon. JT, even though it's Ryan, it's still situation to the moon because Ryan's the beautiful part. What people don't understand, if you put a more potent quarterback in here, like this is just the right amount of quarterback, just the right amount of talent you want going to Indy because you don't want to overshadow JT. You want to be able to move the football on demand. You want to be able to move the football on demand, on command, get it into the red zone, get it into the goal line situations. You want to be able to do that, but you don't want this man scoring touchdowns by himself all the time. You want JT to take care of it. You want your quarterback to command this run-first attack and march it downfield and feed JT. This move makes JT the number 1 without question. Again, if he had not gotten Matt Ryan, if he was looking at Baker, Javonte would have danced with the 1.1 ADP. Javonte would have literally had a cup of coffee with the 1.1 ADP. You would have seen it happen. It would have happened in August, real hardcore like. But now that JT's got Ryan, it's the most beautiful situation. He'll move the football down the field, but won't hog all the touchdown opportunities. It's a match made in football heaven. JT 1, Javonte 2, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, then Najee Harris. Or you could go JT, Javonte, Najee, then the 3 wide receivers. I know you're going to say, where's Eckler? Where's Derrick Henry? Where's Christian McCaffrey? If someone says Christian McCaffrey in the top 5, you're taking a lap immediately because CMC is not running back 1 anymore. Whoever that guy was, what was his name? He's so forgettable, I forget who he was. He'd come in here and ride me constantly on my own show over and over. His name was, I forget his name. Someone tell me, Robert or whatever. He'd come in here and literally blast in the chat, you're going to pay, you're going to see Christian McCaffrey's the running back 1, and he's nowhere to be found. You guys that come in and rip to shreds every point I have in the chat, and then you vanish after it doesn't work out for you. CMC running back 1. He's not running back 1. He's not running back 5. He's a 12 to 13 turn pick, Christian McCaffrey, at best right now, and that's being safe. And to do it in 1 league, maybe 2 leagues if you play in 10, but anybody taking Christian McCaffrey in the 3-4 range isn't taking account the amount of risk that he comes with. He's got upside, I agree. I want to own him in 1 league. I do. I'm admitting right now on camera, I want to own McCaffrey in 1 league because there's a shot he does play a full season and plays a league. There's a shot. It's small, but there's a shot. And I like the idea of him playing at the 12-13 pick for me. Because then if he, let's say he plays 11 games of elite production, you can pair that 11 games with somebody else like Ramondre Stevenson from your bench or Tony Pollard, and you could end up with a top 5 running back, sum total from 17 starts. You got to think logically about it. But that 12-13 range for CMC is a great way to invest in him and not have a whole bunch of risk involved. CMC will be a top 3 running back this year. Remember me, champ. I mean, he could, Gus. Like, unfortunately, Gus, I'm not gonna remember you because I love and appreciate you, Gus. But I'm not gonna remember that, nor am I gonna hand out awards if he's top 3. I just said he could be top 3, Gus. It just came out of my mouth. Could he be the number 1 running back, Gus? If he's the number 1 running back, Gus, I'm saying it right now. He could be the number 1 running back, Gus. Remember me, Gus. Remember I said it. Of course he could be the number one running back, Gus, but where are you investing at? What level are you buying in, Gus? That's the point. The point is you need to grab him at 8, 9, 10, 11 at the earliest, Gus. You can't be drafting him at 3 or 4 when you don't need to. Number one, no one's taking him there on average. You're wasting opportunity. Number two, he could do it. There's a probability, there's a chance he delivers that, Gus. There is a chance. No doubt about it. There is a chance he could be the number 3 running back. And Gus, I will remember you anyway. I'll remember you because you were a follower of mine. And that means more to me than believing in Christian McCaffrey. So Gus, bro fist to you. I Smitty approve you.
You've just been Smitty approved.
All right, where are we at? What happens every year, doesn't it, BW? What are you guys talking about? Find your own jokes, Doug. Says Sacktown. Steelers are going to be chasing wins. I agree. If Baker goes to Carolina, CMC will be the number 1 running back until Baker leaves. Okay. I'm not sure how Baker letter maker plays into that, but okay. Okay. It's not a matter of who's better. Injury history and situation matters, says Michael. Could CMC be the number 1 overall running back? Abso-freaking-lutely. Will he be? Probably not. Doesn't mean that he won't. There's no shot at it. It's like if you roll a dice so many times, there's probabilities involved. Okay? Or flipping, let's use flipping a coin, 50-50. Every time you flip it, 50-50 chance of it being heads or tails. I mean, could it be heads, Doug? Could it be, I forget, was it Gus? Could it be tails, Gus? It could be. If I flip this coin right here, it is tails, I'm going to remember you. That's basically how that's going there. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course there's a chance. No running back 1 gets hurt every year. Cursed. Sorry, I took a couple laps before the show. I'll take a break. It's okay. BFH. You do you. I like you just the way you are. Okay. Javonte over Henry. Load the ball. I mean, Henry's not in my top 5. I'm not drafting Henry in the top 5. Henry and CMC both have the potential to be the running back 1. Like, let's make no mistake about it. Both these guys have the ability, potentially, because we don't know where their talent levels are. No one knows. No one knows if Henry's ever going to bounce back to form. No one knows if CMC will ever bounce back to form. I don't know how many of you are old enough to play when Marshall Faulk was in his prime, and especially his last year where he fell off the face of the earth. But Marshall Faulk was literally a fantasy football touchdown machine. If you didn't get to play fantasy football and actually draft Marshall Faulk, you really don't have a sense of what one player can do to your entire team. You own Marshall Faulk, you literally could win your championship no matter what else you did. You could be the worst at fantasy football. You had Marshall Faulk and some mediocre talent around him. He'd literally win weeks for you over and over. He'd have 3 and 4 touchdowns. This guy was an absolute monster. Okay? Marshall Faulk was insane. And everybody kept saying, he's going to do it forever. He's Marshall Faulk. It was really crazy to watch him the year he fell off. He had like 3 touchdowns or something in the first quarter of a preseason game when everybody thought he was going to fall off the face of the earth. And that was the year he did fall off. People were worried about it, but not everybody, but people that knew that the time was near. And a bunch of people didn't. They're like, this guy's going to do it for another 3 or 4 years. Faulk goes into that drop-off year he was about to have, the falling off the face of the earth. He got injured the year prior. He'd been banged up. You figured this guy might not ever stay healthy again. This is how it happens. When you're a running back that's overworked to the tune of being a fantasy football running back 1, you're used so much you break. Like, that's the whole point, what people don't understand. McCaffrey, in order to be the number 1 overall fantasy football running back, in order to be the number 1 or the number 2 overall fantasy running back, Todd Gurley, BW, exactly. JT, even. Christian McCaffrey, Le'Veon Bell. You have to be overworked to the point where you're going to break early. If you're the running back one in fantasy, you're getting volume over volume. You're getting more volume than anybody because you're finishing number one. It's not rocket science. If you are getting production that makes you the number one overall fantasy scorer, you're being overfed more than anybody. You're getting worked into the ground. So Christian McCaffrey getting banged up is no coincidence that he's having trouble staying healthy because he's been overworked and abused. Todd Gurley, think of the pattern here. Todd Gurley is no coincidence that Todd Gurley could not stay healthy when he started to look like he was breaking down because he was overworked. Derrick Henry is next. Yes, BW. Derrick Henry's next because Derrick Henry has been overworked and you saw him break. Christian McCaffrey, overworked. You saw him break. McCaffrey and Henry are both at the very end of their careers, on the way to fall off a cliff so drastically, those that are still holding on are going to be extremely disappointed. Is there a small chance these two rip off, or one of them rips off one more elite year? Certainly there's a chance. Not one that's going to make me remember someone said it, because it's there. We all know the chance is present. But the odds of Henry playing a 17-game season feel like the same odds that Kyler Murray won't cry at some point this year. Derrick Henry, I don't think will ever return to his old self. And I know that's really hard for a lot of people to hear. And let me put Derrick Henry on screen here because everybody we're talking about, I want to make sure I put the name on screen for anybody jumping in or watching later. We'll put Javonte Small here in the corner. JT, we'll come back to you. We have 5 minutes left in this show. This goes so fast. Derrick Henry, I don't think he's going to... Terry sent a super... I'm sorry, Terry. I was ranting and I didn't see it. Wipe your feet. 101 people, only 46 likes. Terry's not happy. Like the video. If I've helped you at all, it does help the channel tremendously. So please punch that thumbs up. Thank you, Terry, for the super chat. I appreciate you. Joel, appreciate you. So much Kryler crying talk. Hey, Oliver. It is what it is, bro. It is what it is. J.K. Dobbins or ETN. ETN by a mile. Guys, think about this for a second. You got... I'm getting off on a tangent because Pocket Sand sent this in here. JK's recovering from an ACL tear. Look what happened to Barkley. Barkley's one of the most gifted physically in the NFL. And Barkley struggled coming back from an ACL tear. Don't buy into J.K. Dobbins was already injury prone to begin with. We can't trust J.K. Dobbins. Like, think about this for a second. Like, Sand, I'm not mad at you. This is a great question. I'm glad you asked it. But think about this for a second, guys. I try to say this all the time. Multiple red flags. When you have multiple red flags, you're being told a story, and you need to listen to it. Okay, this isn't one red flag. You know who has one red flag this year? DeAndre Swift. You know who had multiple red flags last year? DeAndre Swift. And that's a great example of how situation is what matters. Everything a player's facing from year to year is different. This guy had a coaching staff, Anthony Lynn in particular, who's now in San Francisco. Remember that for the running game in San Francisco. But Anthony Lynn literally refused to give DeAndre Swift the full workload and literally had his play duty, his play calling duty stripped from him a little bit past mid-season. And both the head coach and Anthony Lynn in Detroit both continued to say over and over that Jamal Williams was their 1A back and Swift was their 1B back. Swift also had injury history on top of it. He had multiple red flags, which was a reason to worry about Swift in 2021. But in 2022, it's different. You have one red flag. You no longer have a volume problem. You no longer have a confidence problem with the coaching staff and using Swift and utilizing Swift. Red flag taken away. Now you only have an injury risk red flag. One red flag could be enough. You have to evaluate every situation enough, but one red flag doesn't concern me. Think about it with J.K. Dobbins. You have a guy that was already injury prone. A guy that was already in a running back by committee. He plays on a team that runs multiple running backs no matter what. And he plays on a team where the quarterback scores a lot of the touchdowns and vultures from the running backs. What on earth indicates that J.K. Dobbins, coming back from an ACL tear, is on his way to the moon? So think about it for a second. ETN, on the other hand, plays in an offense where they have no weapons. They have minimal weapons. They have Christian Kirk, who's getting paid $84 million, but don't let that fool you. He is not an elite wide receiver. He is a good wide receiver 2 for a team. They have no huge weapons. ETN, while he's in Doug Peterson's running back by committee, which is partially a red flag to be honest, but he's the best player, the best pass catcher on the team. He is the best receiver on the Jaguars roster. And ETN is going to be fed in a lot of different ways, even though he's in a running back by committee. So he has that upside, but you have to be careful because there is the injury risk. He's coming back from injury and the potential of a red flag in the running back by committee, which I do think won't be the same as it's been in the past with Doug Peterson because they have no other players to catch the football. They have no other players to run the football. This is going to be an ETN based on necessity type season that might be a little different than Doug Peterson's running back by committee guarantees of the past. So ETN by a mile for me. And to circle back to Derrick Henry, I fear Derrick Henry is looking at an injury-plagued season. The man has a plate in his foot. The man has a plate in his foot on the outside, okay, right here. And the guy is putting 250 pounds on that foot, trying to explode. There's a reason that he had to wait so long for this bone to heal that he broke, because that bone is so critical in terms of explosion, and you can break it and separate it. They put a plate in there. The guy's already not super quick off his feet hitting the hole. He's a plotter. He plots around, finds a gap, gets through it, starts picking up steam, and then people can't tackle him because he's too big to even take down. He's a guy that starts off a game with 30 yards in the first quarter or two, and you're like, where's Derrick Henry? And then by the time he gets to 27 carries, he's worn down the defense. Nobody wants to tackle him. It's like trying to play an adult inside a Pop Warner football game, and he has 150 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns. We're looking at a very, very risky situation in 2022 if you're buying Derrick Henry at anything close to top 5 overall value. Again, like with CMC, do you take him around the 12-13 turn if he's there? Sure, in one league, but he probably won't be there. Derrick Henry will probably be ranked a lot higher on the average, probably never float to the 12-13 turn like CMC could. So Derrick Henry's a guy I probably won't own in 2022 at all. If I did draft him, I would draft him and trade him by, I don't know, the beginning of the second month of football. I would start him for 4 or 5 games, 6 games max, and I would trade him. This guy's not going to hold up. And the biggest caveat here is if you're getting Derrick Henry touches, 27 carries a game, which is required to get Derrick Henry numbers, you're going to get him hurt. He's going to get hurt. He's not holding up at 25, 26, 27 carries a game. He'll last you 6, 7 games max if he even still has that step, which he may have lost because of the plate. He may have lost because of the 2,000-yard season that usually breaks every single running back that ever crosses the 2,000-yard mark. The guy ran for 420 totes of the rock in 2020, And that's why he broke also in 2021. You don't run for 420 times and last in the NFL. It breaks you. It wears you down that very next season, which is what we saw. Derrick Henry is a complete avoid for me at his ADP, and I suggest everybody else run for the hills and draft a safer guy like Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. Don't draft a Derrick Henry. Don't draft a Henry just to try and trade him later. Just to try and trade him later for a Jamar Chase. Can't disagree with that, says Cliff. Is anybody arguing Henry in here? I've been ranting. Stay away from Akers. I don't know what anyone's saying about Akers. Aaron Jones, Akers. Honestly, for 2022, give me Aaron Jones over Akers. Blair, appreciate you. Would you target with the 2.1 and 2.6 in rookie drafts? I mean, Rachaad White if he falls, but we don't know. It's a little early to be knowing who's going to be there at 2.1. But Rachaad White, if he fell, I'd love. But he could get drafted into a situation where he goes really high. No to Derrick Henry, absolutely. ETN is one injury away from being a full-time running back. He's already a full-time running back, though. Name me who's the starter. Who's starting over him? Like, he's the full-time running back. There's no one there. He's the number one. And Prime, I agree with you. I'm more excited than you. I'm trying to tell you, don't worry about it. This is already the case. He's already the full-time running back. The problem is he's in a running back by committee system. That's what Doug Peterson does. But there's no other running backs. They could draft one. That could be a problem. You know, if he drafts one, we're going to have to readjust everything. But for right now, he's the number one. He's the only running back. James Robinson tore his Achilles. James Robinson is not a factor anymore. James Robinson will never, ever be the same. He's nothing now, unfortunately, for him. You know, and I feel bad for him. Prayers up for him. But he's nothing. He's not returning to be a running back at all or a threat. He tore his Achilles. Achilles injuries, you do not return to form from Achilles injuries. We're seeing that with Cam Akers. I believe we're going to continue to see it with Cam Akers. And when Cam Akers suffers another lower leg injury, which is very parallel to an Achilles tear, we're going to see people say, well, if he just didn't get hurt again, you would have seen. No, I don't think Akers is not staying healthy, especially given that he rushed back, especially given that he has an injury history, especially given his decision-making with his body and where he puts his body, what positions he puts his body in, puts him at a high risk for injury altogether. And he's coming off an Achilles tear, and he rushed back. So get ready. Get ready for everybody to be loving Akers, and even if he started off good, he's not staying healthy in my mind. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. J-Rob is not Adrian Peterson. He's not coming back from an Achilles. John's got to be kidding. John's got to be kidding. John, don't do this to me. I think John's baiting me. I think John is baiting me. Nobody's come back from an Achilles injury, John. Nobody. I think John's baiting me. Send a super chat, Smitty. Blair, appreciate the super chat. Redraft, my bad. Should have specified 2.1, 2.6. Who would I target? Okay, good questions then. I'd say Devontae Adams is a pretty good 2.1. You know, if Jamar Chase or Jefferson were to fall, which they won't. Durant. You guys are baiting me. What's up? You out of here, Jay Cutler? Jay Cutler's out of here. Later, pal. Durant. Stop. You're baiting me. Okay? You're baiting me with this. No running back has ever, not one running back has ever played elite football after an Achilles tear. Never. Deontay Foreman's the only running back that's come back to look good And he did it in a very short window of time. And he did it after getting hurt. One injury after the other coming off the Achilles, which is exactly what I'm trying to say with Akers. Akers is going to probably suffer injury. Full recovery and better for Durant. And he runs. I hope no one's talking about basketball with this injury in this chat here. Okay, where was I? There was some other super chat. 2.1. So like Adams, it's gonna depend, man. If those wide receivers fall, I find that I go wide receiver a lot, like Tyreek Hill and Adams. Like going wide receiver from the 2.1 is good. 2.6, that's tough. That 2.6 is tough. I find myself wanting to either trade up or down from that 2.6, but looking at a little bit of rankings here, let me just pull up my sleeperu.com rankings. And guys, if you haven't already, get on over to SleeperU.
Want bold year-round rankings, trade calculators, and bold predictions? Get on over to SleeperU.com.
Get on over to SleeperU.com and get your bold predictions and rankings. Are people really? I think people are baiting that. They're baiting with that. They're baiting me. Durant. I love when people compare Durant to a running back. He's joking. He's got to be joking. He's had to have seen me rant on him before. And I love when Adrian Peterson's thrown out, as if Adrian Peterson suffered an Achilles tear. People don't know the difference between Achilles and ACL, but that's okay. It's okay. Smitty, when is Jimmy G going away? I don't know that he is, man. So I got Blair's questions. Blair, I'm looking up some stuff right here for you. Keeper League, send Saquon 5.10 for Javonte in the 4.06. Give me Javonte all day long. All day long, bro. All day long. That's phenomenal. Especially when you consider keepers are already involved. Those picks aren't really the 5.1 and 4.6, right? They're actually later because you got keepers involved. Absolutely love that trade. Sorry it took me so long to get to that. And as far as the 12 and then the 2.6 pick, or the 2.1 and the 13 overall, and then the 2.6, you're talking about Nick Chubb at the 2.1 potentially. You're talking about DeAndre Swift at the 2.6. Maybe Debo falls to the 2.6. You never know. Waddle is a decent emergency grab in the 2.6 range if you can't decide and you want a player you love. Travis Kelce's okay, but I feel like he could miss some time. Adams at 2.1. Debo at 2.1. Hill obviously at 2.1 if he's there. A.J. Brown at 2.6 is a good grab. Diggs at 2.6. Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall try and wait till the third round currently, but I believe both of them climb up. Swift is a good 2.6. But I love Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, but you got to try and grab him in the third round. All right. I think I'm going to hit this button here. I'm going to not get baited anymore. Javonte led the league in nasty runs after contact. He was the number one tackle-breaking running back in the NFL at halftime. Waddle in PPR is going to be a top 5 wide receiver. Mark it down. Mark it down. Cliff and I know what time it is. Do you? Waddle top 5. Get on board. Get on board. 170 days. Let's go. Waddle step up his game even more this year. He absolutely will. Beastie. Devontae Smith, second-year bump or slump. I like him, but it's hard to trust him. Breece over Walker, maybe. Landing spot will dictate that, but Walker was second in the all of college football in yards. He was number 1 in elusiveness and number 1 in forced missed tackles. So I don't know. I mean, you could argue either one. Did Adrian recover 100%? Adrian Peterson did not suffer an... I got to come back for this one. Adrian Peterson did not suffer an ACL tear. Stop spreading rumors, Jamie. Or Achilles tear. He suffered an ACL. He did not suffer an Achilles tear. He suffered an ACL tear. Completely different. You know, I was going to leave, but I came back for that. I had to come back for it. Nobody, listen to the words coming out of my mouth. No running back, not Kevin Durant or a basketball player. No running back has ever come back from an Achilles tear and been a top 10 running back. Deonta Foreman has been the best looking running back to ever return from a tear. Appreciate you. Leave your comments on the screen. Let's go.